Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Sarah of Horror. I review movies, TV shows, and other things I find interesting to talk about. So if that's your thing, hit the subscribe button. But today I have something special in store for you. I promised that I would review a certain documentary that I've been wanting to watch and review for a while now. And today is that day. And I'm of course talking about In Search of Darkness 1990 to 94. A journey into iconic 90s horror. Yes, so I was super happy that I was approached to watch and review this documentary because I've seen the three other ones reviewed where they were talking about the 80s. So they did a deep dive journey into iconic 80s horror, and each documentary is about like 6 hours. So we really get a deep dive into each decade. And now they're doing the 90s. They're doing the 90 to 94. So 4 years of 90s horror movies. And I was very excited because I really loved the first three parts because I love 80s horror movies a lot. I think a lot of my viewers do as well. But I'm happy that they are actually focusing on the 90s, and I hope that they keep doing this for like the 2000s, the 2010s, and so on. Who knows? Maybe my movie will be talked about in an upcoming, part of the series. Who knows? So, as I was saying, I was super happy to watch this because I usually make like a whole day out of it. I make some dinner, I have some snacks, got some nice drinks or like Coke Zero or something, and I just lay in bed and I know I have 6 hours of horror movie documentary pleasure in front of me. So I was ready to watch this one. And you know what? I wasn't disappointed at all. I can bring up some of the filmmakers that are actually in this one being interviewed and talking about 90s horror. And it's Mike Flanagan, John Carpenter, Heather Langenkamp, Ted Raimi, Alex Winter, Robert Russler, Jill Schoelen, Doug Bradley, Timothy Balm, and Jörg Buttgereit, among a lot of filmmakers or people in the horror movie industry and scene. And yeah, there are a lot of familiar faces and some faces that I know of, but I haven't seen in a while. Like I hadn't seen Timothy Balm from Braindead in a long time. Then he shows up here, and I'm like, oh, that's Timothy Balm. That's so cool. And I was very happy and hear him talking about his experience on the set of Braindead and other things surrounding that film was really interesting to hear. That is like one of the best things about this documentary. You get to hear a lot of things from the actors, filmmakers, producers themselves on what was going on during the filming, what was going on like socially around the film, and during that time, what was going on in the world, how it connected to the 90s horror scene. Because a lot of the 90s horror films, we were moving on from the glitter, the 80s kind of pop vibe to a more grungy style, both in like how we dressed, the music, and also horror films were a bit more grungy. They rebelled a bit. They really went to the social issues, and yeah, I think it was a direction in the right way. We're in a new era, in a new decade, and this documentary really brings that up, and they talk about those subjects a lot. And that really interests me because it's not only the focus about the horror in horror movies, but it's also focusing about true horrors in today's society. So I always find that interesting when you can kind of talk about and connect those two. And of course, I love the layout of the documentary, how we see like the posters for all of these 90s movies, and then the camera kind of pans over and zooms in on one of them, and that is the movie that they are going to talk about next. And yeah, and the music, oh, it's so cozy. And I like, In Search of Darkness because it kind of ties me or connects me to when I was younger. and started watching horror movies, and I was always in search of, the next horror film, in search of the next, what more gore, or I've heard that this film is disgusting and nasty, or something like that. There's a lot of blood, so I need to be in search of it. So I like the title. It really speaks to me a lot. Side note, I had some highlighter on the nose here. So I'm just seeing that now with my lighting, ring lighting, and all the lights here, it is very, 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 it's like a bright spot. So, sorry, you have to deal with that. But yeah, I just noticed it's so shiny. My nose isn't this shiny usually. So that's, yeah, combination of the highlighter and the rings, highlight rings. So yeah. But yeah, back to the documentary. And also, I really like the part where Jörg Buttgereit, the director of the necromantic movies, for example, the Todesking, Schramm, etc., when he was talking about how he got in legal trouble over Necromantic 2 in Germany. Because, yeah, I hadn't heard that story, and it was interesting to hear him talk about that, and also how the censorship of movies at that time ties into a lot of things, because that's always interesting to hear. We had that whole banning era, video nasty era, and now they still were banning some movies after that. And it was interesting to hear him talk about that, but also interesting to hear him talk about how the outcome. So I'm really glad that they had that segment with him, and he was also talking about some more of his movies. And I do like his movies. I am a Necromantic 1 and 2 fan, and I really like Der Todesking. Schramm is also good, and a few others that I've seen from him. So I was happy that he was included in this documentary, and I was happy to see a lot of familiar faces. John Carpenter being, one of them, of course. Always fun to hear him talk about horror movies. And we had a lot of sequels in this one. Yeah, 90s were sequel-esque. A few of those, which this documentary talks about, is of course Child's Play sequels. We have Basket Case sequels, Puppet Master sequels. Yeah, and of course, at the beginning of the 90s, like from 90 to up until 96, the slasher scene was basically dead. At that point, the golden era was long gone. Slasher movies, that era was kind of dead. And then, of course, in 96, something happened. Scream came. But this is documentary between 90 and 94. So in those years, the slasher movie was kind of dead. But while being dead, I also found and discovered a few movies that I hadn't seen or even heard about. So that is also why I love this documentary. I am discovering new movies, and I'm always in search of new and unheard or unseen horror movies for me. Because I've seen a lot of horror movies. I am one of those people where people are asking, "Oh, have you seen this one?" I'm like 99% yes. So it's hard for me to find a horror movie I haven't seen. So I was super happy when I found Blood Moon. And it is actually a slasher movie from Australia. And I haven't seen it yet, so I am very excited. I can't wait to watch that one. Especially during an era where slasher movies, that genre or that subgenre, was mostly dead. So I'm very curious to see how that slasher is and how it holds up today. But I can't wait until they do the 94. I don't know if it will be 94 to 97 or something like that. But they will talk about the return of the slasher subgenre with Scream. I'm sure of it. So yeah, there were a lot of things going on in the 90s. And they bring up so many just good movies that I can't get enough of hearing. Candyman gets brought up, People Under the Stairs, just so many good ones. They talk about a lot of the use of CGI and computers affect VFX. And I think that was an important thing because that was like a big thing during the 90s. You know, there was the computer technique, there were VFX. A lot of movies went from using the practical special effects to the more computerized CGI VFX. And yeah, it was an experimental time, but people were really starting to notice what you could do with a computer. When the main character sits in a car and his face like kind of changes, how they used to do it back in the time, you had to like cut away from the character, then cut back, cut away, cut back, and you see him or her transforming. But now you didn't have to cut away and cut back. You could just remain on the actor while that actor was transforming. So it's very cool to learn things like that and really think about how far we've come with technology, with things in movies, not just horror movies, but movies overall. So yeah, this documentary is very educational in that sense. I think all four have been so far, and I'm always eager to learn more about horror movies, about things I didn't know from filmmakers, actors, anyone in the horror scene, of course. And I'm super happy that I got the opportunity to watch this documentary. I had a blast, and I was kind of sad when it ended because I wanted more. But I know how much time and effort it takes to make this kind of documentary, and I'm sure it was very time consuming. It took a lot of effort, but I am looking forward to the next one for sure and hoping to be able to review that one as well. So, what do I give In Search of Darkness 1990 to 94? I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Yeah, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10 just because of how much I enjoy watching these documentaries and that I get so excited when I'm about to watch a new one and how educational they are, how they find movies that I haven't discovered yet, and just to hear the stories, just to rewatch some clips from the film, almost like rewatching the film itself, because all the memories of watching these movies kind of comes back, and it fills me up with like joy and happiness, some childhood and teenage memories, and yeah, very, very good documentary. An excellent documentary, in my opinion. So, as I said, I can't wait for the next one. And if you've seen this one or the other three parts on the 80s horror, please let me know in the comments what you think and which movies were you most excited about them mentioning in this one. Or was there any kind of movie that you wish they had talked about but didn't? Also, let me know that. And yeah, don't forget to give this video a like and comment something for the algorithm. Maybe what's your favorite 90s horror movies? That would be perfect. I want to know. And of course, I will see you at the next one. And don't forget to subscribe. Bye.